It's 2:14 a.m. You wake up already aware of your breathing. Not gasping, not panicked, just tight. The air feels heavier than it should. You sit upright and take a slow breath in. It catches halfway down. There is no power. The grid has been unstable for days. Pharmacies are closed. Deliveries have stopped. Your inhaler sits on the table. You shake it once and listen to the faint rattle. You don't know how long resupply will take. Outside, someone is burning wood for heat. The smell drifts through a cracked window. In normal life, asthma is buffered by infrastructure, clean indoor air, regulated buildings, reliable medication supply, emergency services on call. When those systems weaken, asthma doesn't become dramatic. It becomes exposed. What you are managing is not fear. It is airway mechanics under stress. No collapse is cinematic. It's procedural.
Asthma is a chronic inflammatory airway disease. It depends on stability to remain controlled. Stable air, stable medication access, stable monitoring. According to the World Health Organization's 2023 asthma update, over 260 million people worldwide live with asthma. Management depends heavily on reliable medical systems. When those systems fracture, risk does not spike instantly. It shifts gradually. Small destabilizations compound. Today, we focus on 4 survival rules. Each rule protects one layer of control: air exposure, medication preservation, inflammation management, energy and escalation control. These are not hacks, they are structural protections. Rule 1. Control the air before it controls you. Asthma reacts to triggers: smoke, dust, mold spores, cold, dry air, chemical irritants. Inflamed airways narrow faster when irritated. Narrowed airways increase resistance. Increased resistance turns breathing into labor. In modern society, air quality protection is mostly invisible. HVAC systems filter particulates. Buildings reduce moisture accumulation. Public air alerts warn of wildfire smoke. According to the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency's 2023 Air Quality Trends Report, wildfire smoke exposure has increased in frequency and geographic spread in recent years. In a collapse scenario, indoor air often worsens. Open fires for cooking, improvised heating, limited ventilation. Quick fixes fail if exposure continues. An inhaler used inside smoke buys minutes, not stability. Create a micro-controlled air zone. Even one room matters. Seal drafts with fabric. Keep combustion outside whenever possible. Reduce dust disturbance. Limit moisture buildup. Lower trigger load. Lower attack frequency. Air is the first variable. Rule 2. Treat medication as finite infrastructure. Rescue inhalers relax airway smooth muscle. They reverse bronchospasm. They do not eliminate inflammation. According to the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention's 2022 asthma management guidance, over-reliance on rescue inhalers without sufficient anti-inflammatory control increases the risk of severe exacerbations. Medication supply chains are layered: manufacturing, transport, distribution, retail. The U.S. Department of Health and Human Services reported ongoing medication shortages between 2020 and 2023 across several categories, including respiratory drugs. Each layer can fail. Scarcity changes behavior. Track inhaler usage. Count remaining doses. Avoid unnecessary just-in-case use unless exposure is unavoidable. Store inhalers at moderate temperatures. Extreme heat reduces effectiveness. Quick fixes fail when medication is treated as unlimited. Conservation extends runway. Runway preserves survival margin. Rule 3. Stop inflammation from compounding. Asthma is not only sudden constriction, it is chronic inflammation that lowers your margin for error. A 2021 review in the Lancet Respiratory Medicine emphasized that persistent airway inflammation increases the likelihood of severe exacerbations and long-term airway remodeling. In stable systems, doctors step up therapy during worsening control. They prescribe temporary oral steroids. They monitor lung function. Without access, escalation goes unchecked. A mild infection increases inflammation. Inflammation reduces baseline airflow. Reduced airflow increases rescue inhaler use. Increased use accelerates depletion. The pattern is progressive. Night waking increases. Chest tightness appears at lower exertion. Relief becomes shorter. Quick fixes fail when early warning signs are ignored. Track symptom changes daily. Reduce exposure immediately when signs worsen. Rest during flare periods. Avoid compounding triggers. Inflammation escalates quietly. Procedural decline is still decline.
Rule 4. Protect energy and avoid late-stage escalation. Breathing requires energy. When airways narrow, muscles work harder. Heart rate rises. Fatigue increases. According to the American Thoracic Society's 2022 guidance on asthma self-management, recognizing early deterioration reduces risk of emergency-level exacerbations. In collapse conditions, emergency care may not be available. Energy conservation becomes survival strategy. Avoid unnecessary exertion during unstable periods. Plan physical activity during times of lowest symptom intensity. Use controlled breathing techniques to slow respiratory rate during mild tightness. Panic increases oxygen demand. Controlled pacing reduces it. Late-stage escalation is harder to reverse without medical intervention. Intervene early, always early, because delay compounds effort. Air quality shifts first. Medication usage rises next. Inflammation compounds quietly. Energy demand increases last. Each layer transfers pressure to the next. No collapse is cinematic, it's procedural. Small exposures, small overuses, small ignored warnings, stacked in order. Breathing rarely fails in one dramatic moment. It deteriorates through sequence. Remove one layer of control, pressure migrates. That is system behavior under strain.
Asthma does not automatically make you fragile. Dependency makes you fragile. When infrastructure works, management feels effortless. When infrastructure weakens, responsibility shifts inward. Not dramatically, procedurally. You control exposure where possible. You conserve medication strategically. You monitor inflammation patterns. You reduce unnecessary energy demand. Breathing is mechanical. Air flows through structure. Structure responds to stress. Failure follows order. Preparation follows order too. No collapse is cinematic. It's procedural. The system works until it doesn't. Your choice. Be surprised or be ready, because Fallout Raccoon will never share y'all.